One of the most important things to learn when working with Photoshop is how to work with selections. Selections are how you really get at your editing, how you can do some really cool things, and what you're kind of coming to Photoshop for most of the time, especially from graphic design. So, from my last video, we kind of left with this picture in here of the river with a little bike path. Looks very Fox Rivery. And I want to add my raccoon. So I'm going to go back here to File, Place Embedded, and get one of these raccoon friends. Let's try this guy. I'm going to hit Place, and look at that baby. Okay, so let's see what we can do with this. I'm going to leave it this big for now, hit Enter, and I want to cut out this baby here, not this guy. We'll see how it does. So when we're in when we're in Photoshop, there's all of these first kind of tools up here, and these are all different selection tools. The rectangular marquee, if you hold that down, you get some other kind of options. They're really just like rectangles and circles. The lasso tool is something that can be really quick and easy to work with. Some people love these other guys. I'm not a big fan of the polygonal and magnetic lasso tools. The object selection tool is everybody's newest favorite. This one works automatically really, really well. It's gotten better and better with each update. Quick Selection and Magic Wand are some of the older ones. I really like Quick Selection. I use that one a lot. Magic Wand kind of does what it wants, but they all can get dialed in. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. Well, actually, let me go here to this rectangular marquee. So the rectangular marquee, if I draw a box here with it, and I'm going to adjust it because I kind of cut his paws off a little bit. You'll see that it's looks like what they call marching ants. So when you watch some Photoshop tutorials, they might call them marching ants. A marquee is what like is on an old movie theater where the lights are, and they would be kind of scrolling the lights. So that's kind of what the word comes from. But you'll also hear marching ants. So if I were to draw a box, and you'll notice like if I do it wrong, I kind of have to just do it again. So I'm going to like go bigger and that kind of thing. Whenever you have a selection on your screen, you'll see those marching ants. And the selection stays where it is no matter what I'm clicking on over here as far as layers. So sometimes you'll have a selection there and you'll be like, oh, it's not doing anything. Why isn't it doing anything? Where did it go? And it might be because you're in the wrong layer. That happens to me all the time. So right now I'm on my layer with my raccoons. I've got this rectangular marquee. Now, if I wanted to come over here and get my move tool, which is like our selection tool, and I click and move, it's going to move the whole thing. Some settings will let you actually move what's inside of here and start cutting it out. But what I like to do is get a new layer from my selection. So while this is selected, while I have that layer going, I'm going to go up here to the layer menu, new, and I'm going to do new layer via copy. So if I do that, which is Control J, you'll notice there's a new layer down here. So if I turn that guy off, now there's a new layer that was just what was in my selection. So now I've got my baby kind of framed out. But we don't want it to always be a box. Sometimes we do. But right now we want to see if we can get him cut out so he looks like he's in this picture. So we're going to get the object selection tool, which is right here. If it's hidden, it might be under one of those other ones. And the object selection tool is cool because it will, you can like hover and see. And if I just click, it will get me, it's kind of auto selecting the object based on pixels and which pixels are similar. So it's using AI to kind of look at the pixels and determine what the object might be that we're looking for. When you're working with it, make sure that, so when you're whenever you pick a tool, this is going to be a new options up here. But make sure that this first box that says new selection is selected. And I would stick in rectangle mode, but you can change to lasso mode. So I'm going to draw a rectangle around my little buddy, release, and let's see what the object selection tool reads. So that's pretty darn good. So sometimes it'll crash, sometimes it will freeze. You'll have to just kind of keep an eye on that. Now it didn't do perfect. It didn't grab those whiskers. It did something funky down here where it's getting extra. So we could try to see if it's going to pick up those pixels of the whiskers by going over here and doing add to selection. So I clicked add to selection. And if I just kind of bring a box like this, let's see if it can find those whiskers. Oh, it did pretty good. Yeah, I got a couple. And so if I wanted to kind of include those, I can. Now, what I typically do is I go with pretty close and then I go work with it later. So I've got my friend cut out a little bit better. I'm going to go back up here to layer, new, layer via copy. And now I've got him cut out here. Now, this is one way to work. There's a lot of ways to work with Photoshop. We could also be putting masks on our friends, so we can go in and work with the masks. And that is definitely a nice way to work because we can kind of paint in and paint out our whiskers and things like that. Masks are a little annoying when you take them into Illustrator, but if you're staying in Photoshop, this is a pretty good system. And I could really just like zoom way in and be like, okay, I'm going to go in and just erase this log. I'm just going to get the eraser tool, if I can see it. There we go, the eraser tool. Everything that's a tool in Photoshop is going to work with brushes. So I'm going bigger and smaller using my left and right bracket, which are the keys right next to P on the keyboard, to make them resize. So I can go in here and do this, try to erase that. That's never going to look great. So there's a lot of tricks. There's a lot of tutorials online about working with hair that you can explore. And it gets at things that are way better than me. If there's anything else I wanted to go, like fix those whiskers, I could go fix those whiskers. There's so much you can do, but I want to keep it kind of basic for right now. So let's go fix those whiskers a little bit. Let me show you what the magic wand tool does. So if I go get the magic wand here, and I click in this green, it's going to find the rest of the green, but it didn't do a great job. It's picking like, there you go. So you can see that. Sometimes I do that. When you have a selection, you can also hit the backspace key and it'll just delete out of the selection. I can switch over to eraser, get rid of my selection. So you can kind of go in there and do quite a bit. Let's see if I can go back to in there. Boop, boop. Yeah, it's getting all of it. Maybe we'll just keep these guys. So if you notice, I can't delete anything because I have a selection going. It'll only let me delete what's in that selection. I'm going to go ahead and delete these. We'll pretend those other ones are really well connected up here, that they're not floating. Okay, we'll move on with life. Let me save. So I've got my dude over here. So right now he looks kind of like a monster. I'm going to move him over and I'm going to Control T to go into the transform mode. So this is now letting me change him again. You'll notice I'm not holding shift, so I have to hold shift. And I can change his size, put him over here, hit enter. I can make a bunch of them, little army, by clicking and pasting. You'll notice each one is its own layer. The new one is always in front on the canvas and above over here. It is nice. It will let you get multiple at one time. So you'll see I've got multiple selected over here. You can also do that right in the layer panel by holding shift and doing a click. So it gets everything. Now I've got all these guys. They look like they're dancing. Can work like that. So selection can be really important for putting together an image. The next video, I will show you how to work with masks in a much more nuanced way than cutting out exactly from your layers.